what I'm seeing is you get that dopamine hit with the little red circles, like how many notifications you have first thing in the morning. Am I right in thinking that's what you see? And then it's harder to get that dopamine hit through the rest of the day in real life?
Correct. Yeah, and I think I know you've talked to a lot of different people on this awesome podcast, and it's similar to other kinds of addiction where you are foraging for fake dopamine, essentially.
Welcome to All Can, No Can't, the podcast where we toss out excuses, face our fears, and reclaim control. I'm Jeff Luther, your guide to mastering the chaos and turning obstacles into opportunities. Whether you're an entrepreneur navigating the ups and the downs of building a successful business or someone ready to rewrite the rules of your life, this is your space to grow, to push boundaries, and to embrace doing the hard shit that leads to greatness. Together, we'll explore stories of resilience, strategies for overcoming, and the mindset shifts that let you build a life on your terms. I use my experience with a life-altering diagnosis to help you find the can in every can't. So buckle up because it's time to stop living in can't and start thriving in all can. You choose.
Welcome back to All Can, No Can't. This is the show where we dive deep into stories of loss, recovery, reinvention, and the small wins that build us back stronger. I'm your host, Jeff Luther, and we're in for, so I'm excited about this today for sure. Remember, this is about finding the opportunity in the obstacle. Our guest is someone who lives at the intersection of vision and action, structure and soul. Meet Kelsey Green. She's a community strategist, an accountability coach, a founder of Summit in Six, which we'll talk about. Kelsey helps keep ambitious leaders, helps them turn their big dreams into concrete results by designing accountability frameworks, cultivating meaningful relationships, and pushing past the paralysis of plans. Analysis paralysis, we've all heard of that. So she takes all of these plans, and turns them into momentum, into doing. Her work's all about bridging that gap. It's the gap between I want to and the gap between I did. She teaches people to build real circles of support. I love that. So in this episode, we're going to dig into Kelsey's own journey and talk about some things. I'm going to be super selfish here. Talk about some stuff I want to talk about. And then like the moment she felt stuck, the breakthroughs and the decisions that she's made. Kelsey, welcome to All Can, No Can't. I'm so grateful.
Woo, I'm delighted to be here. I can't wait for this conversation. Thank you for
Yeah,
having
this
me.
is going to be fun. Um, So let's kind of start at the beginning. How did you find yourself here? Like doing this work, doing coaching. How did you figure like, you know, I'm coaching a guy now that makes lists. Every day he makes lists. You know the person. How did you find yourself here coaching people? Like, how do you develop a plan to actually get shit done? That's what we don't do. It's so
Totally.
hard.
Yeah, excellent. Well, thank you. I'll just do a quick recap of my background. My master's and my undergraduate degrees are both in environmental conservation, and I went from that to working in the nonprofit sector via some wildlife biology work, right? And I believe I did some amazing work, in the nonprofit space, but I absolutely did hit that burnout mode, right? Where I
Okay.
was working all the time because the pay traditionally is not amazing in nonprofits. I was running a side business and I was just very, very burnt out. Kind of hit a rock bottom in lots of ways. That was one factor, and then I hit all the others too: financial, emotional, physical. So I think those are some of the best moments of our lives,
That
right?
sounds so fun.
It was a blast. Yeah. And I realized that I wanted to stay in the space of working with people, communications, community, but I needed to do it differently. So I launched a consulting practice, and I still do. I work with different state and federal agencies around things like water policy, some legislation, environmental projects, right? And what's interesting is that in that space, just like all these other spaces, it's really about the relationships.
Hmm.
And I started getting a lot more interested based on my own my own journey with PTSD and the awesome rock bottom that I mentioned, doing my own internal work, looking at mental health, physical health, right? So I know your audience is all about these kinds of topics, and just realizing that I really needed to make some changes in my own life. And
Mm,
one of the things that I'm working on a lot right now is entering into a space of digital minimalism. At least that's the journey, and setting up these really strong digital boundaries, because I don't know if you heard, but there is a loneliness epidemic in certainly
yeah.
the US right now, but I would venture globally. So
Yeah.
that's kind of the theme of I think what we're here to talk about today.
Yeah. And this could, like, we could do a couple hours just on this. So, the loneliness epidemic, I'm going to tee some things up and then let the expert talk. How about that?
Sure.
One of the things that I have found, and I watch in my children, and my kids are 20, 18, and 16, is they start the day
Mm.
and they look at their phone. It's beside their bed, and that's the very first thing they do. And I'm trying to, and I think a lot of us do it.
Yeah.
Had to learn to keep mine in a separate room. So I think a lot of us
Mhm.
do that. But what I'm seeing is you get that dopamine hit with the little red circles, like how many notifications you have first thing in the morning. Am I right in thinking that's what you see? And then it's harder to get that dopamine hit through the rest of the day in real life?
Correct. Yeah, and I think I know you've talked to a lot of different people on this awesome podcast, and it's similar to other kinds of addiction where you are foraging for fake dopamine, essentially,
That's
right?
such a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Because yeah, that's what we're doing. We're foraging for it. We're out looking for it. It never even came to me in those terms.
Right. And so, as you I'm sure know, that decreases the baseline for what you find pleasurable. Like a walk in the park that, 10, 15 years ago might have been a totally fun, fulfilling activity is now really boring because
Right.
we're so used to having this stuff in our faces all the time. There's never moments of silence, boredom, true solitude, right? Because we
Yeah.
have so much input coming in all of the time. So, yeah, you're exactly right. And Jeff, I don't know if you've read the book Anxious Generation, but it scared the shit out of me. And I don't even have kids.
Really?
It is heavy hitting in terms of what the digital age has done and is doing to the younger generation. Because of course, you and I grew up without making some presumptions here about your age, but grew up without
Yeah,
without
there's
smartphones, I
probably
think.
some distance between us. You're considerably younger than me, but
I don't
go
know about
ahead.
that. But let's just, I know, so we didn't I remember a time without phones when I was in college, right?
Oh, wow.
Partially by choice.
Yeah.
But our of course the kids these days don't have that. So that I would recommend that book for any parent, but just anyone, any adult. It's phenomenal and it's very data driven. So it's a good read.
Yeah, I just wrote that down, Anxious Generation. But and it's twofold, right? So like it's a so yeah, going on the walk. Like my 16-year-old has he's been in I don't know what you call it, the teenage trials and tribulations lately. So there's been some highs and lows, some of those low days. I'm like, dude, go for a walk. Like leave your phone here and go for a walk. He's like, why would I go for a walk without my phone? I
Yeah.
mean, so you can like process what you're going through so you can hear yourself. Just pay attention for a second. And if it's not music, it's TikTok. And if it's not TikTok, it's Instagram. And if it's not Instagram, it's
Yeah.
Facebook or YouTube or whatever it is. And it's the amount of information that they process, good, bad, accurate, inaccurate. It's a ton of information.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I'll just mention another book. I won't make this all about books, but this is an
No.
amazing one, Digital Minimalism by Cal Newport. This is, I think, if you want to start somewhere, this is great. And he talks about this exact thing, Jeff, that you're mentioning, which is especially young people, but all of us, right? We're kind of losing the ability to work out problems in our own brains because there's no space to anymore
Right.
because there's so much input coming in all of the time. And it's if you look at the data is definitive, right? It's showing
No
that.
one wants to look at the data because that's the truth, and we don't want to hear that.
Oh my gosh, it's daunting, and it's prolific too. There's a lot of it now, and it
Yeah.
shows that it affects our creativity, our ability to focus. At one point I thought I had ADHD. All these women my age are getting diagnosed with ADHD. I'm like, oh, I must have that, too. But then I started to do these experiments in my life where I started setting up really strong digital boundaries. And shockingly, I'm finding it much easier to focus, to
Right.
produce the work. And I guess just before I forget to mention it, one critical piece of this work and the reason that I started this partially was because I was finding in relationships, people were having a hard time showing up with each other, being fully present.
Yeah.
And I was in a romantic relationship where he just could not stay off of his phone, and we lived long distance. So we only had 1 day a week together. And it was, at that point, I hadn't really leaned into this digital minimalism journey yet, but I started to feel like it just, but he was a business owner. And I think for us entrepreneurs, business owners, people in high level careers, any career, whatever, it can start to feel like it's easier to justify because you
Yeah.
you need to be responsive, you've got clients, all this stuff, and it can be a little bit of a trap, right? So his reason was business. I was like, well, I'm also a business owner, and if you have to be checking your phone 100% of the time, if you can't turn your phone off to be with your friends, family, loved ones by yourself in solitude, you're not running a business. Your business is running you,
That's
right?
right.
Yeah.
So two comments about that. The first comment is my phone just dinged twice
Hmm.
while you were saying that. My kids are on like my emergency contact. So
Yeah.
even if it's on
Yeah.
silent, which it is, it dings. And then secondly, it it makes us feel important, right?
Oh,
So
interesting.
as business owner, oh, I've got to take this. Somebody needs me. So there's a piece of that too.
Sure.
I'm over that personally. I'm not even going to respond. It's Saturday night at 7. I'm not going to respond until tomorrow. And then tomorrow I'll
Hmm.
forget, or Monday I'll forget. Um, but there's some of that, but it's this constant, like I remember when texting was like almost taboo in the professional world. You didn't dare text someone. And now people text at all hours. It doesn't matter. Um,
Yeah.
and that thing about being with someone and they're looking at their phone, I find like my kids do it constantly.
Yeah.
And I just, because hey, put your phone down, put your phone down, put your phone down. And then I'm messing with my phone, changing songs at dinner or something. So now what
Yeah.
I do is I'm like, hey, I hope that's really good because the message you're giving me is that's more important than I am.
Ooh.
And
Whew.
that's it. And that's the message you give everyone at the table. And that's the message that the person you were dating gave you. This is
Yeah,
more important than
exactly.
you are. And no, and
Right.
it feels bad.
Feels bad. And I think that there's a speaker, Jillian Turecki, who mostly talks about relationships, and she had a post that said, can we normalize the fact that when you are on your phone, when you're with someone else, that is a form of rejection, right? And I thought, wow,
Oh,
oof, yeah,
wow.
yeah. So yeah, and once you start down the path too, and you really are starting to manage your own digital use, honestly, it used to be really annoying, and now it's more heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Now I get really sad actually when I see people having dinner together on their phones, not talking. It just makes me really sad. But it's
Yeah.
also kind of wild to think about, like, could you imagine 15 years ago you were, at a lunch with someone and you were just doing something else? Like you just were like
No,
you were just like, I'm gonna be over here talking to somebody else for,
right.
intermittently throughout this entire meal. It'd be so weird and unacceptable, right? But now we've just come to accept this as the way things are. And I argue this does not have to be the way things are. And this is affecting humanity at a deep level, right?
Yeah.
This
Yep.
is it, and if you're not sure, again, reference some of the data because
Yeah. What was the name you gave a while ago? That it's
well,
rejection?
Jillian Turecki is a relationship coach and she's great. But there's lots of great thinkers right now. Cal Newport, um, Tristan Harris, he's the one that founded the Center for Humane Technology. I mean, there's just tons of great people talking about this kind of stuff.
You're
What
a wealth of information on this. I'm trying to write all this stuff down every time you say it.
Oh, thanks. There's a lot of, like I said, great thinkers talking about this right now. Of course, with these big tech companies and the AI race, of course, it's a small voice currently, but I feel
Yeah.
like people are starting to see in their own lives the impacts that it's having, and they're starting to think about it a little bit more. Like, gosh,
I mean, maybe a tiny bit. If people talk about it, but what are people willing to do about it?
that's it. See, that's such a great question because I do talk to a lot of parents and they're asking me a lot about their kids, and so I've like been researching. I mentioned the anxious generation.
Yeah.
But it's funny because a lot of these parents aren't able to get off their phones for a day themselves,
Right.
right? So I run these free screen-free Sunday challenges once or twice a month, 24 hours off your screens. And if you have kids and they're out and about doing sports and something or whatever, I get it. I have my mom as a breakthrough call, just like you have your kids. So she can call through anytime, right?
Okay.
If there's an emergency. And I think that's great. Like have that set up, have your emergencies set up, contingency plans. But, I'm talking about sometimes these parents have their kids are home on Sundays. They go to church, they spend the day together and like, well, why would you be on your phones then?
Right.
I don't get it. Like, what's the hurdle to spend 24 hours off your phones? So I'm encouraging people to think about because you're right. Everyone does, I think at this point, everyone is starting to question, like, just don't feel great when I spend 2 hours doom scrolling Instagram.
Yeah.
But to put the sidebars on the use and to examine it is a big step. I mean, it sounds like you've done it, Jeff. How have you incorporated that in your life?
It's discipline. What I did have to do, so hey, this is like a tell. I had to, on dating apps, I would set myself a 30-minute window. That
Yeah.
was all I could do, 30 minutes a day. And so all I could do is just respond to a message. That was it. I couldn't
Hmm.
scroll and swipe and do all the stuff because it's consuming.
Oh yeah.
And then I did that with Instagram, and I think Facebook is something else. But I ended up with the discipline there. I was like, there's nothing here that's going to help me earn money today. Nothing.
Hmm.
So
Right.
I got that discipline, and I realized that I tried to turn it into a FU kind of thing. Like, all right, you're trying to trap me here. Your Instagram's trying to trap me. Now, what can I do? What discipline do I have to not get trapped? It's
Yeah.
hard.
I love that comment about discipline. I think sometimes people are scared to use that term in things like coaching and these
Yeah.
realms of accountability and personal change and habits because that can be a scary word, right? People just
Yeah.
want it to be easy and
Oh my God.
mm,
Yes. That is like, and I totally interrupted you because I got
no,
excited. I'm
no, go ahead. I'd
sorry.
love to hear your thoughts.
That is my biggest thing about people's health and fitness and wellness. I want to be fit.
Hmm.
I'm not willing to do the work.
Yeah.
I want to be fit now. And people are like, I can't seem to lose weight. I can't seem to get in shape. Really, what have you done? Well, I walked yesterday. Really? When'd you walk before that? Last year. Huh.
Yeah.
Was not going to work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
It's interesting because a lot of times people will ask like, "Oh, do you have one piece of advice, for
I was
people.
just about to ask you that. I was
Yeah.
just about to ask you that
And
question.
and honestly, you know, what I've started saying, and in terms of these screen-free Sunday challenges, I basically am very upfront with people. This is going to be challenging. This is
Yeah.
going to be challenging. That's how you know that there's a problem. For example, if you know,
Yeah.
if it's very challenging for you to to wake up and not take some shots of vodka, ooh, like that's a problem, you know?
Right.
So
But
it's
we don't put them in the same category. They are.
they are. They absolutely are. And like I said, if you aren't sure, try to go even just half a day, right? Without screens, without your phone, whatever. But so I guess the point is, you know, sort of to your point about discipline and doing hard things, there it's gonna be hard, you
Yeah.
know? It's gonna be hard, but it is so important. Like physical health, right? Like bringing some of your creative projects into the world. These things are not going to be easy, but they are absolutely worth doing. You know, this is
Oh my
like,
gosh,
it's
yes.
sort of like you know, it's the future of your brain, and I think, you know, your mental health and your life. Because if you're in kind of a tough space right now with these digital platforms and you're in this scrolly trap, you're waking up, checking your phone, you're responding, you have notifications coming in all the time, that's just going to get worse,
Yeah.
right? That's just going to continue unchecked. And to start to set up some of these parameters in your life to see, you know, build some boundaries, probably it's going to take a little while to see the benefits. Like when you start lifting or CrossFitting or whatever, it's like
Yeah.
just kind of sucks at first and you're sore and like it's terrible until you start being like, oh, yeah, actually,
Right.
yo, I'm strong. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you just gotta put the work in. And so I'm so curious then with you. All right, so in your coaching, I know you coach executives, and part of it, let me see if I can table this or tee this up correctly. I know what I'm thinking, but I don't know really how to say it. Well, let's just take the person that you dated, that the business owner that would look at his phone.
Yeah.
Part of it Part of it is there's a little bit of shame. We don't want to admit that we have a problem with a stupid
Yeah.
phone. Oh, that's
Yeah.
for dumb people. I don't
Yeah.
have that problem. How do you, as a coach, table that issue? Well, you might not have a problem. You might just say it directly. Have you ever had a problem tabling the issue or bringing it up? Maybe they denied it or there was some shame around it.
Oh gosh, what a great, insightful question. Um, yeah, I did really tiptoe around the issue for a while. And to be fair, I have a mastermind, for example, called Summit in Six. Six
Okay.
months, very focused. It's with a cohort, and you are achieving your personal summit, that whatever that's launching your business or finishing your book, whatever it is, in 6 months, right? We do it together. And you know, I will say I do frame one of the pillars as focus, which is really code word for
Get off your damn phone.
for building the digital boundaries. And probably no one's going to be surprised because at this point I do a lot of talking about digital boundaries and digital minimalism and these kinds of things, right? So if you're paying any sort of attention to, you know, the rest of the stuff I do, you'll see this, right? But people can be a little freaked out by it. But at this point in time, no, I really don't pull any punches when it comes to asking people to examine their own use, because that was you know, hit the nail on the head. That was exactly what was going on.
Are you feeling stuck? Overwhelmed? It's like you're fighting against something that you can't even see or name. I've been there, literally. I survived sudden cardiac death and I rebuilt everything. I've mastered the art of controlling the chaos. Now I coach a small group of high performers that are willing to do the work to do the same thing. No fluff, no excuses, we just get results. If you're ready to take back control, apply now at jeffluther.com. This is all can, no can.
He and I would sit and talk for so long about what's really important in the world, community,
Right.
in-person relationships, how important it is. Meanwhile, his phone's going off, you know. And at some point, you know, well, actually in hindsight, I think was the point that I realized the level of hypocrisy there. But I'm so grateful for it because it actually inspired me to look at my own life more and say, well, okay, so we have businesses that are on these online digital platforms, and I want to make sure that I am using the tools as tools, right? And
Right. Yeah.
because I think there's so many great things that can happen in the digital space. Like, of course, we're meeting here, how cool. You
Yeah.
can have some really amazing relationships in just a digital space. I'm not dismissing any of that. But to make sure that we are leveraging it for the best possible outcome versus letting ourselves be used by tech, big tech, right?
Right. Yep. Which is a segue into another topic that I'm excited to talk to you about is connection. So I think that it steals our connection. I think humans really long to connect. Um, and I think that the digital world is stealing that. Like my kids didn't want to drive. They had no interest in driving.
Oh my God.
Right? Like when I was 16, I was there that morning. I didn't go
That
to
day.
school. Yeah.
That day. Yeah.
Um, so am I creating a mountain out of a molehill? I mean, am I wrong
Uh,
that it steals our connection?
no, absolutely not. So this is again something that you can find in the data, right? And so basically the problem is it makes us feel like we're so much better connected, more connected, and the challenging part, I think, is that because there are some good outcomes, like let's say you can talk to your aunt in Michigan more now, than you ever could before, because there are once in a while some really great outcomes, then we just lump everything into the good bucket. So all of
Mm,
these shallow connections, oh my gosh, this is not new to anyone, I presume, but the what it does to our psychology, the likes, the views,
right.
that sort of reinforcement of our value. I mean, it is devastating, devastating to our
Yeah.
brains that have evolved with, the necessity, I guess, of having a tribe and being accepted by a society, which of course, when we were, our species was evolving, meant life or death. It still has the same sort of you know, impact on our brains as if we were still dependent on the tribe for survival, right? The social media, the likes, etc. So it can result in, especially for young people, unfortunately, it can result in us feeling like we must be, more connected. We must be on the right path if we're friends with more and more and more and more people. And
Yeah.
of course, this is really subverting the ability for us to actually connect with each other in
Right.
person. And your example is a perfect one. I've heard young people are dating less, they're spending way less time,
Yeah.
in person doing things, which of course would help them develop skills for adulthood.
Yeah. Going to the grocery store. Like, they're with my kids between age like 14 to 16, like they were they were hesitant to go up to the counter in a gas station and pay for something. They just don't have the social skills. And people would ask me, they're like, well, what's wrong with your kids? Why don't they want to drive? They don't like people? I'm like, no, their world is on their phone. My world was out in a parking lot at McDonald's. I had to drive to get there. But, they don't have to. So it's completely different. And
Yeah.
I will add here that I am convinced with even what we said with the likes and the accomplishments and what we use our phone to grow our business. I'm convinced as an entrepreneur, as a human, as a parent, as a sibling, a child, the ultimate success as a human is human connection. How you connect, how you make people feel. I am convinced of that.
Yes, I absolutely agree. And so much so that I built a course called How to Build Your Circle because I was hearing that people, adults, were having a tough time making friendships,
Oh,
creating those
wow.
relationships. And you've got let's say you have 1,000 friends on Instagram and no one to feed your cat if you go on holiday. You
Right.
know, you have all these shallow likes and maybe some DMs or whatever, but you don't have anyone to go to lunch with on Saturday, right? I mean, oh, and so, but the problem is, and COVID didn't help, obviously,
Right. Yeah.
but we are really losing the skills to talk with people out in the
Hmm.
world, and it's also tougher because we're also just all looking down on our phones all the time, right? So there's
Yeah.
less opportunity, and then
Yep.
we're just worse at it. And then it feels, some of the ways in which we used to build our communities and connect with each other, the third place, like that people used to congregate in certain actual physical spaces happens less,
Yep.
right? And we're just kind of getting crappier at it all. And so
Yeah.
so I built this course that helps people, and it's kind of like it's like dating except for platonic relationships when you're looking,
Right.
building out your actual circle, mostly of friends, I'd say, for adults, but it can be applicable in lots of realms. But because people need some help, like get
Yeah.
walking through it again, right?
Yeah. And my own self, what I found is I didn't lose like my ability to socialize. I didn't lose that. What I lost was my ability to accept rejection. So,
I mean,
that was like, so that was hard. Like walking up and talking to someone, I lost, it, I guess the same fear was there, but I lost the way to process that like in a healthy way. It
mm,
became where I just, you know what? I'm just going to avoid it. And the more I've avoided it, the easier it was to avoid it. So I think there's some of that
yeah,
also where if I can hide behind a screen, then I don't
yeah.
have to worry about it. I just never hear from them again. It's not like if I'm at the grocery store and I say, "Oh, wow, we're both picking out bananas. Look at that." And someone turns around and walks off. That's very unlikely. There's whereas on a phone they could just block you or do whatever. So there's some of that too. We lose that ability.
I love that you brought that up, partially because honestly, men don't talk quite as much about being vulnerable. Generally speaking,
No,
that's a
that's
stereotype.
why men don't make friends.
Yeah.
I'm convinced.
Oh gosh, I feel for the men out there. Yeah, because I think women, because we are geared to be a little bit more communal, maybe anyway, it's just easier for women, I think, often to bridge that gap. But I have a whole lesson about rejection because basically at some point you are going to need to make that little jump, from hey, like we've seen each other on the pickleball court for the last year. Do you want to do anything else other than play pickleball together, like just us, right? And sometimes they're going to say no, right? It's just how it goes.
Yeah.
And so I have a whole little lesson on rejection because I really do not want it to stop people from putting themselves out there, just like in dating or whatever, right? So thanks for bringing that up. Yeah. That's
Yeah,
cool.
it's and the only thing I've found is you have to not you have to you don't have to do shit, but to reframe it. Like what are they gonna do? What are they gonna do? They're gonna say no. They're not gonna cut you up and eat you. Like what are they gonna do?
Yeah.
So I had to get there also, and then it was like this is so dumb. Well, I mean, just go talk to people. And what's really fun, let me tell you what's really fun. Is
Yeah.
when you're at the grocery store and then you finally decide you're going to go up and talk to someone. So you walk up to them and you start talking and they don't turn around, they don't look at you and they don't do anything. And they've got their fucking AirPods in and you're just standing there, just talking.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yep.
there's that piece. Socially, that is a problem also.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
we isolate even when we're out in public, then we decide to isolate.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It breaks my heart. It breaks my heart to see people out in public on their phones. And but it's interesting because I started lifting and I had my little clipboard and my paper and that was great, but my trainer wanted me to move to an app. Like, oh no, but the app's cool because it tracks your PRs, it tracks the
Right.
gains. That's awesome, and it shows it has the videos and that's really helpful. But I was just like, not one more space that like,
Yeah.
I don't want to be on my, I'm not trying to like chat people up at the gym, but I also just like don't want to be on my, looking down on my phone. So
Yeah.
that's where I think some balance is good, right? Like there's some amazing apps that I love, and it's really just saying like, does this app, does whatever piece of technology you're looking at using, does it support your values, in your life, or does it subvert them?
Mm,
So in this case, my whip strap, it doesn't have a face, so I'm not fucking around with like,
right. Yeah.
scrolling on my wrist in addition to my phone and iPad and whatever. But, the app's cool. Like I love that. It's a cool app. It gives me good data. That's great. That supports the value of fitness,
Yeah.
wellness. The new Trainerize app, okay, ugh, I don't really want to be on another app, but like it's actually pretty sweet, like, to track
Yeah.
the gains. So like, okay. But does that mean that all the apps are good? That I should accept every technology that comes in? Absolutely not, right?
Well, and then also on your app, on your like your lifting app, there's another dopamine hit.
Yeah.
When you hit a PR, that's a dopamine hit. What I do so I have my workouts on the app, and then when I go in my gym, I write everything on a whiteboard, and then I
Nice.
check it off
Nice.
and so I just go through my reps and I'll check it off, and that gives me
Yeah.
it's just freedom. It just gives me the freedom of not looking at my phone because I can tell you. Like, I don't know if anybody wants to talk about this, but you say, hey, give me Billy Bob's number. And I'll grab my phone. I'll open it to give you Billy Bob's number.
Yeah.
How long do you think it's going to take me to get you his number? A long time, because now I have all this other shit,
Right.
these little red circles. Oh, I better see who messaged me on Instagram. Whoa, boy, I better go check this email. So I'm really bad about that. And if I'm in the gym and I open up my phone to start looking at
Yep.
what my workout is, then I'm off in la la land.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's perfect example because I haven't been wearing a watch. I don't always need to have a watch. Like I'm online, I can see the time, whatever.
Yeah.
But the problem is however many times a day I would need to check my phone to see the time. The problem with that is that, of course, if you have things popping up, like you said, badges, notifications on your phone, I don't
Yeah.
have any sound notifications on. So it's not like I'm getting blinged or blonged for email or Instagram or whatever, but they show up on my screen. So then I'm looking.
Yeah.
So now
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, well, I don't really want to have two big bands on my wrists. But I'm like, well, I'm gonna because I'd rather have a watch than look at my phone for something as stupid as the time and
Right.
then risk getting pulled in to whatever's happening in that space, right?
Then you're lost. Yeah. Um, so there's a lot I want to talk to you about. You're super sharp. So let's do this. Tell me about your summit. The six, what did you call it? The six?
Summit in six. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Thanks. So that's a mastermind. I think you and I talked about helping people to get shit done in their lives.
Yeah. Right.
Something you're passionate about as well. So this is basically that. The goal at the end of 6 months is that they would have reached their summit, they would have finished the book, they would have launched the business, whatever it is. But
Done the
really,
thing.
done the thing. They do the thing. But really, the goal is helping them learn to be accountable to themselves, right? Because
Yeah.
that's the thing. I mean, I love coaching. I have coaches. I am a coach. Great, great, great. But, you want people to build that skill of being able to coach themselves, to be
Yeah.
able to bring their work into the world without someone like, did you do the thing? Right? Yeah.
Yeah, because if they want to do the book, you can easily hold their hand every
Oh,
30 minutes a day, every day for 6 weeks or 6 months, and then we're done. Right. But you're giving them a process, or you're helping them build a process then.
yeah. And that's some pragmatic pieces. Of course, some people have problems with scheduling and staying accountable to their calendar, having their, a calendar have their backs. Like you don't overschedule yourself. You give yourself buffers, you build in rest time, whatever.
Right.
But yeah, but also, and a big piece of it, as we discussed earlier, is the is the ability to set boundaries with yourself. Like we talk about boundaries all the time. setting boundaries with all these other people, la la la. But do you have boundaries with yourself, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the best thing we can do is set up the boundaries with our squirrel. I mean, mine shows up on a unicycle juggling fire, wearing a tutu. You talk about distraction. I mean, oh my God. And you create your own squirrels. That's not someone barging in. All right, so it's every 6 months. Like, do you have like a rolling cohort, or you just wait and you do it every 6 months and start a new one?
Yeah, right now it's every quarter is a new cohort start. So the
Okay.
next one is in January. Yep.
Okay.
January. And then I have that course I mentioned, How to Build Your Circle. That's offered, evergreen, but there will be
Okay.
a live cohort launch in February. Interestingly, some of the feedback was people wanted a community inside the course to come.
Yeah.
And my goal was to get people out of their house
But
into.
you know what I bet they want, and you may know this already. You say, I'm gonna say what my word is that I think they want, and you say what you think they want with that cohort, because it's not the cohort that they want. What do you think they want?
I guess I would think they want um well, connection with people going through the same thing that they are, which is loneliness, right? What do you think?
I think they want safety.
Oh,
That's what I think. Because it's safe. If somebody else is doing the same hard thing that you are, then it's safe. I think. I don't know. I would be in.
no, you're probably right. Yeah.
I'd love to hear what they say, why they want a cohort. And I also think too that one thing I've learned about entrepreneurs, and you may know this with the folks that you coach, is sometimes they want permission. As much as we
Mm,
say, oh, no, I can do my own thing. I do whatever I want, whenever I want. Sometimes they want permission. They want permission to go out and meet people. They want permission to say, hey, do you want to do something different besides play pickleball? They want permission to do that.
yeah.
Then when they fail, they can help shed blame on somebody else. Well, Kelsey told me I could. That bitch.
Yeah.
So there's a piece of that.
Yeah, excellent. Well, thanks. Thanks for that insight, Jeff. I appreciate that. Yeah. We all want safety, don't we?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like however you can get it.
Yeah.
Sometimes we think we have it. How do people find you? And so you do keynote talks also, right?
Yeah, speaker, facilitator, do workshops. So basically everything, you can find everything through Kelsey L. Green. That's my website. I've got recent speaking appearances listed on there. I have info about the course, and I think I mentioned the screen-free Sunday challenges. Those are
I'm
free.
down with that. I'm gonna go find
Yo,
that. Yeah,
let's
I
do
want to
it.
do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The next one is October 26th, but there's one or two a month, so you can jump on those. And I send you some information leading up because let me tell you,
You inoculate us?
it does take some preparation to get ready. I learned
bet.
that the hard way in the first challenges. People said, like, you didn't give me an hour by hour of what to do off my screen. So like, wow, okay. Let's take it back a little
Oh
bit.
my
Yeah. So
gosh.
anyway, you can find all that stuff on my website, Kelsey L. Green, Instagram, same Kelsey L. Green. You can find me on LinkedIn. And I'd love to chat with anyone that's interested in setting up some digital boundaries in their own lives, on bringing their creative ideas to life. So thank you so much, Jeff. What a fun
This
conversation.
is so fun. Are you still taking individual one-on-one coaching clients?
Selectively, yeah.
Yeah. Um, awesome. I'll look forward to that Sunday challenge. And you have been so fun to talk to.
Same,
Thank you.
same.
This is
Thank you
great.
so much.
All right. This has been All Can, No Can't. Of course, I'm your host, Jeff Luther. And until next time, I absolutely can't wait to see you.
Thanks for listening to All Can, No Can't. If today's episode resonated with you, remember it's not about the chaos you face. It's about how you choose to take back control. It's about finding that one small can in the can't you're given and grinding it down. Find your angle, carve your place out in the world, and get the fucking win. Do that by finding what you can do and not listening to what you can't. You choose. Be sure to subscribe, share, and leave a review. Your support helps me reach more people that are ready to embrace the all-can mindset. And it lets them know there's someone that's willing to walk with them no matter how dark the path gets. You can find me on Insta at JDLuther 2.0 and allcan_no-can't. This is where I share more tips, stories, inspiration to help fuel your journey. And until next time, keep pushing boundaries, breaking limits, proving to yourself that anything is possible, even when you're told it isn't. Remember, life's not about can't. It's all can. Go prove them wrong.